Business Roundtable CEOs lead U.S.-based companies that support 1 in 4 American jobs, and that's 1/4 of this country's GDP. We also develop and advocate directly for policies that promote a thriving U.S. economy and expanded opportunity for all Americans. That is our bread and butter as an organization, the public policy. In addition to that public policy, we have a focus on a number of corporate initiatives. All of those corporate initiatives are workforce focused, whether it's revamping companies' human resource systems that focus on skills-based hiring, that it's not a degree always that is required in order to be successful in America's companies, or reducing or eliminating the barriers that allow individuals with criminal records to work in corporate America, or expanding apprenticeships, whether they be registered or otherwise, to create an opportunity for individuals, again, who have the skills, the experience, but not necessarily the 4-year degree to work in our member companies. Our focus is on bringing companies together to solve these problems together. No company should be trying to reinvent the wheel to figure out what is working, what is not working. We have the opportunity, and I think we've demonstrated as companies, to solve these problems at scale, not producing 5 apprentices, not hiring 6 people with just skills, no degrees, but in the thousands. And I think the record of accomplishment hiring nearly 13,000 apprentices in this country is a good illustration of that in the networks that we have all over the United States. I encourage you to visit our website to learn more about some of these workforce initiatives. Workforce development is a key priority for America's CEOs because it's what is necessary to support growth, economic growth, not just for the country, but also for the states and local communities in which we all live. With the passage of recent legislation, I'm sure you've heard a lot about the infrastructure law, the CHIPS Act, and the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. We have an incredible opportunity to provide more individuals to take advantage of the jobs that not only are currently in existence, but the jobs that are going to come online as a result of these pieces of legislation. Wisconsin is no different from any other state. A matter of fact, Wisconsin is anticipated to see a significant need for construction laborers and operating engineers. In a recent study by the McKinsey Group, Wisconsin may also see the highest strain in inline installers as a result of the $1 billion invested in broadband. With this comes, we think, a significant opportunity for individuals that are on the sidelines, individuals that are looking to change careers to work in our member companies. That said, we can't do it alone. I'm so glad to have so many individuals here today from the higher ed community, whether it be the 2-year schools, the community colleges, or the 4-year colleges and universities. It's this type of partnership that is critical for us to be successful. One example is the Workforce Partnership Initiative that we have in place. Blake Moret, who you'll hear from shortly, and the team at Rockwell Automation are one of the original sites for this work. Business Roundtable's partnering with a number of community colleges, 4-year colleges and universities to accelerate and scale best-in-class workforce readiness programs and develop a steady talent pipeline that meets the challenging needs in each region around the country. The case study that you have in hand is our way of documenting the success that Rockwell has had over the past several years. Rockwell's Automation's work through the Workforce Partnership Initiative is one of the original sites. Beyond learning just about what Rockwell did, look at the results. Because it's not just a training program, it's a training program that has actually led to people being hired. Ultimately, these people will not just be hired, they will also have opportunities to advance in the company as well. Today, we're going to focus on, yes, the challenges. We're going to spend actually more time talking about the solutions. 2 companies, Rockwell Automation and Johnson Controls, will join me shortly on the stage to talk about what they're doing to hire skilled talent, but that will open opportunities to more individuals to work in the companies. We'll also hear from Congressman Bryan Steil, who will join us virtually in a few moments, to discuss what role the federal government has to play in this, whether it's career technical education or the Jobs Act, which we talk a lot about at the Business Roundtable, particularly as it relates to affordability. So I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have here. I hope you have a lot of questions, because we're not just going to talk at you this afternoon. We want to hear your questions as well. With that, let me introduce Blake Moret, the CEO of Rockwell Automation.
Dane, thanks so much. I want to start by thanking you all for taking some time to be here this afternoon and to express your understanding of the importance of the workforce issues that we're going to be talking about a little bit for the next few minutes. I also want to thank George Oliver from Johnson Controls, Representative Bryan Steil, who you'll hear from as well, and our Business Roundtable partners for helping make this activity a possibility. You know, I don't think I tell anyone here about the importance of workforce on upskilling and so on. All of you are aware of that. It's important, and I suspect many of you, like me, have a personal connection to the importance of ensuring that people have the opportunity to thrive in careers and to continue to be able to learn over a lifetime, really. And that lifelong learning concept is critically important to the work that we're doing. It's especially true as we look at what's necessary for companies to compete and win, you know, in today's market. Having employees who are comfortable working hand in hand with the technology that gives them superpowers. It's not about replacing direct labor with technology as much as it is giving workers those superpowers to be able to accomplish at the most to their capabilities, to enhance their basic capabilities with that technology and be comfortable interacting with it. With this in mind, in 2017, we formed the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing with Manpower Group, and we chose veterans as the focus of our efforts to provide these upskilling efforts, because veterans have so many of the basic attributes that make them very attractive workers for industry. The veterans that have become a part of this program have capabilities with respect to their MOS that give them some aptitude in technology. They know how to show up for work on time each morning. They know how to demonstrate a commitment to the mission, and these are all things that are vitally important in industry today as well. We've graduated over 400 veterans from the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing, and while I am especially proud of this specific program and the way that Rockwell and Manpower employees have rallied around this mission, there's opportunities that are endless for other companies, for other learning institutions to implement these types of programs. And I think that's the most important takeaway for what we talk about, is that while the AAM is a great program and it's demonstrated the longevity and we continue to find ways to scale it, the true scale is for other companies and learning institutions to find similar type programs and to be able to knit these together into a tapestry that gets at the unbelievably large need for upskilling people to be able to thrive in these sorts of careers. We've seen some recent accolades that speak to the importance of bringing together that trained workforce with the technology. As the Department of Commerce recently released the awardees for some of their tech hubs, Rockwell was pleased to be a part of two of those. One with our work with Army Regenerative Medicine and their so-called Regen Valley Tech Hub, as well as right here with Wisconsin's BioHealth Tech Hub. And we're thrilled to be a part of these. So much of this is based on Rockwell's expertise in understanding the industries that technology is going to be particularly impactful in, and then to be able to take our knowledge of what's required to scale this on the factory floor as well. The need is acute. Wisconsin's working age population is growing very slowly over the next decade or so, and so making the most with scarce talent is exactly what we're trying to address here. We can't solve this problem alone. It's going to be companies like Rockwell, like Johnson Controls. It's going to be public institutions, learning institutions. It's going to be the government working together. And I think in the end, it's going to require that commitment to lifelong learning, outcome-based education that produces demonstrable results, and then those partnerships that are going to be the winning hand. And so with that, I'd like to also welcome George Oliver, CEO of Johnson Controls, to the stage.
I think we have Congressman Steil with us.
I can hear you guys loud and clear if you got me.
Great. Dane Lynn with the Business Roundtable. Thank you for joining us, Congressman.
No, thank you for having me, and apologize I can't be there in person. We had a long day in Washington, and the flight wasn't going to get back in, but talk about leveraging technology. This gives us an opportunity for me to participate, at least virtually, so appreciate it.
No, absolutely. We'll definitely bring you into this conversation, and maybe we kick off the discussion, George, starting with you, just to hear from the Johnson Controls perspective. What are really some of the common and in the future challenges that you're facing as we look forward? But how are you addressing some of those challenges?
I mean, it starts with when you think about what we do for our customers, it's a technical workforce that, whether it be in manufacturing or most important is our technicians that we deploy with our customers. And when you project what the workforce will look like over the next decade, we're going to lose about 25% of the skilled workforce. And so as we project our business and the changing, not only the content of what we do servicing of HVAC, we do fire and security systems, we do the installation, and then most important, we work with our customers to maintain those systems over the life cycle. And so the business is transforming from a technology standpoint. So it's not just what we've done historically to be able to maintain the systems, but now with the digital technologies that are being deployed, there's a whole new level of skill sets that are required to then be able to do what we've done to maintain, but now to significantly enhance the value. So when you look at, and then when you look at the open jobs today, I think there's 4 million open jobs, technical jobs in the market. We typically have almost 1,000 open jobs. When you look at what we do across the country, we have about 100,000 employees globally. And so we're very much focused on what is that next generation and how do we actively participate with the education and all of the different institutions that are critical to being able to develop that next workforce. And what we look at, when you look at what we do in buildings and building solutions, buildings represent, especially in today's environment with the focus on sustainability and decarbonization, buildings represent about 40% of the global carbon footprint. And so when you look at what we do, I mean, we provide incredible opportunities and jobs and, good jobs, good paying jobs, and our ability to be able to get the talent that's going to be required to be able to solve this generation of problems to be able to get to net zero. And so what we're doing is we're working with community colleges. We have a community college partnership program. We have a Johnson Control Academy, and I'll talk a little bit more about these programs. We have the Skill Bridge, or the Hiring Our Heroes with veterans. And so we're looking at every one of the talent pools and then designing programs that we believe we can, especially in the communities that we provide the services and programs for our customers, there's incredible talent. It's our ability to be able to attract that talent and then develop that talent to create jobs that have great wages and lifelong employment. And so there's a lot in our space, and then what we do here in Milwaukee is a good example with the community college partnership program. We committed, starting in 21, over 4 or 5 years, $15 million, and that's broadly across the U.S. in communities that have underdeveloped or underrepresented talent pools. in that what we've been very successful in doing is being able to attract that talent, being able to work with community colleges, and then with the programs that we put together, we have developed training labs, we've donated equipment, we've donated our time, and then now we're hiring that talent that's coming out of these programs, and it's been extremely successful. So that's one example of what we've been doing in these communities.
Thanks, George. I hope during the course of this conversation, we can also come back to what Johnson Controls is also doing for the existing workforce at the company. Because there's a lot of, you want to stay employed, but more than staying employed, you want to acquire some of those new skills to take advantage of the new opportunities. So it'd be interesting for us to hear a little bit about Johnson Controls' work in the reskilling, upskilling space as well. Blake, I'm going to come to you last, but let me go to the Congressman. Congressman, from where you sit, be interesting to hear what you see from the congressional point of view as some of the current challenges and opportunities that we have as a nation.
Thanks a lot for having me on. I worked for 10 years at Regal Rexnord, and then after that at Charter Next Generation, and spent a lot of time in this space. Now in my chair as a policymaker, I spend a lot of time thinking about improving the flexibility of a regulatory environment in this space. What does that mean? I look at 529 college education savings accounts and think that we need to have more flexibility for how those are being spent so that they can be spent for an individual that maybe wants to get a CDL, a commercial driver's license, to skill up and get a better paying job, where for that, maybe that individual's 4-year college degree is not the right fit. We need to think about that also in terms of Pell Grants, that those are available for individuals taking maybe less traditional routes into some of our higher technology companies. George was talking about partnering with technical colleges. I think from the federal level, one of the things that we need to do more work on is in particular flexibility as it relates to accreditation of many of the teachers who are at our 2-year technical colleges, so they can become more embedded in particular into our high schools, so that individuals who are maybe juniors and seniors are able to get those first credits and introduction into a more technical education. And if we provide those types of flexibilities at the federal level, I think it will really allow our private sector employers in the state of Wisconsin to take advantage of that, and then to continue to upskill once those individuals are onboarded at companies like Johnson Controls or Rockwell Automation.
Congressman, if I could ask a follow-up question, in particular on the 529, which for those that don't know in the audience, this allows, I think, $5,250 to not be included as an individual's income that the employers can pay. And there's been some talk in Congress about doubling that amount, as well as increasing the flexibility on how those funds can be used for technology and other reasons. Is that a part of the flexibility that you're talking about as well, Congressman?
Yeah, I think we have to have everything on the table. I've been spending a lot of time as to exactly what programs those are able to be paid for. Increasing the dollar amount is a rational step forward. We got to spend a lot of time thinking about the cost of higher education. Wisconsin does a better job than most states in that regard, but that's all part of the conversation that we need to be having to make sure that individuals are getting the education and preparation they need for the jobs of the future.
Thank you. Blake, over to you. Some of the current challenges that Rockwell's facing and the solutions in addition to the AEM?
Well, it is getting the best talent. You get the best talent and you're going to win, period. And making sure that we're looking at the talent that can produce the outcomes is key. And I think Representative Steil, as he talked about, making sure that we're recognizing and allowing funding for programs that don't necessarily involve a 4-year degree, for instance, is really an important part of the idea behind the AAM. The fact, and I, as somebody who's quite familiar with 529 plans, having had 4 kids go through school and being able to use Pell money for some of that, I think those are the types of things that focus on the outcomes that are really important. Certainly, we have a good presence, as we're hiring professionals from around the country and around the world who do have advanced degrees, but recognizing, that some of our strongest contributors may not have started that way because it just wasn't in the plan or in the cards, in the normal sequence of high school to college and so on, and recognizing that and providing more on and off ramps is critically important. So I would say, talent. I mean, geopolitical tension is another thing that's obviously a big challenge, in being able to take these programs, not just here, but around the world, and to be able to customize our programs for attracting the best talent around the world. I think that's at the top of the list in terms of the challenges that we have to address to be the best going forward.
On the AAM in particular, is there anything you'd want to add on the motivation behind creating that program other than we need skilled workers?
Well, to be able to give back to our returning service people, I think is something that strikes a chord for me. I'll tell you, my wife was in the Army Reserve, and seeing, the challenges to make the transitions from that and then to find what's next, to be able to help and to recognize the capabilities that our returning service people have and to give them a path. One of the biggest challenges in the AAM was convincing veterans that this was not a scam, that we were actually going to provide this free education, we were going to provide a stipend, we were going to provide a forum for potential hiring companies to meet them, and that we were doing that for real. And but when you see, the way that employees throughout our company have walked through walls to make this happen, because there were several times that we encountered challenges that we didn't expect, that we could have said, it was a great idea, but it's just not us. We're not built for doing this or that. We walked through those walls to make it happen.
Great. George, in preparing for this discussion, I was doing my homework on all the programs that Johnson Controls has in place, and I had a hard time. I'd like to ask you about each of those programs, but given the limited time we have, could you talk about the Johnson Controls Academy? And equally impressive as what we've heard from Rockwell are the results.
So our Johnson Control Academy, we take applicants for diverse candidates, veterans, working adults that are looking to advance themselves. And we hire about 130, 150 a year. And what we do is it's pretty intense. We take them for 6 weeks. We bring them to one training center for 6 weeks. We pay not only the housing and the training, but we then, depending on where we deploy them back into the workforce, we then move them and get them positioned to where they're going to be productive and ultimately be able to contribute. And so we have been, our track record on that training program, we've been able to retain 97% so far of the individuals that have been through that training. And so what you recognize is when you are investing, when you are developing, and you are advancing, our retention rates go up significantly. And then when you're in a war for talent, like I said earlier, right now we're very attractive because of the problems we're solving, right? We're solving for sustainability, we're solving for decarbonization in buildings, and so we're attractive. We're attracting a lot of talent, but your success is going to be determined by how you develop that talent to be successful. And the jobs are changing. And I think that's what our recognition is, and that it isn't one program that's ultimately going to solve the problem for us because of the nature of what we do. And so we've been very diverse, like I said, with the community college partnerships. That's been incredibly successul. And we're probably going to put more into those programs. We've been very successful with the 15 million that we've deployed. We're working in communities that have been historically, that are underrepresented in our industry, and we can bring them into the industry. And then with the development, we find that the individuals in those communities, typically it's about 20% that go on to either a community college or a technical school. When you're providing the resources and development, that number can go to 70%. It goes to 70%. It's a significant step up. And so when you see those statistics and the recognition of the resources being deployed, we're getting the return. We're getting the return with the development of the talent, critical talent, and our ability to be able to support our growth. Because right now, when you look at the workforce and you take what we do with our technicians and how we support our customers and what we're projecting for growth, we see a major shortfall. And so as we're now developing these multiple programs, and the Academy is one big one, but it's multiple. It's not only the work we're doing with SkillBridge with the hiring of veterans, and we've been extremely successful because they come in with incredible technical talent. We develop that talent to what's critical for our space with what we do, and then we layer on, we are going through a major digital transformation. So even though you think of HVAC as being a mechanical business, it is all being transformed with digital. In the future of our solution to solve sustainability, it's not only electrification of the equipment with heat pumps, but now it's combined with the use of data and the ability to be able to use data, apply AI, and change the outcomes that you can achieve within a building. So it's very exciting. We're very attractive, but it's only going to be successful if we can provide the development and the training to be able to take the what we see to be the our talent pools in all of the cities that we work within across the country and be able to take that to the next level. And that's what we're focused on with these multiple programs.
Yeah. So you mentioned the second program I was going to ask about, the community college partnership. I think what's important for our audience to know too is that in addition to the initial training, Rockwell, Johnson Controls, and many of the Business Roundtable members also provide the financial support to those individuals that want to pursue further education. So whether that's going from the certification to a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, those resources are in place to support individuals that want, again, to enhance their skills. Congressman, I want to come to you and ask about some recent legislation. I mentioned my open remarks, both the CHIPS bill and the infrastructure bill. There are a lot of opportunities in these bills for the jobs that are going to come online. I'm wondering from your perspective, what more could the federal government do to provide the type of support to individuals that want to pursue these opportunities? You've already mentioned one, the Jobs Act, which is the short-term Pell. Anything else come to mind?
Blake mentioned as he was talking about bringing veterans on board, it reminded me of a gentleman who has left the Marine Corps as a master sergeant that I met in 2018. He led 500 men into the Battle of Fallujah. His wife was from Wisconsin, moved to Wisconsin, and he shared with me that he was struggling to find a job. And I think finding this connection and the public-private partnerships that are needed are essential, in particular in the veterans community. I've been a big advocate of increasing transition resources for our veterans. And Blake, you kind of were almost half joking when you were saying, the program at Rockwell is so good, convincing people that it's not a scam as a piece of this. But I think truly getting those resources in is men and women who are serving the United States military, wearing the United States uniform, are transitioning back into the civilian sector, that we're connecting them directly with job opportunities. And so many of our large employers in the state are looking for people with the skill sets that exist in the United States military, leadership, hard work ethic, and connecting them directly into private sector jobs that are available. It's transition resources at the federal government level for these veterans, but then partnering up with our private sector employers is something I think we could make dramatic improvements on in our state and in our country.
Congressman Steil, let me just ask a follow-up. I know you're a member of the Career Technical Education Caucus. Some of us, the more mature people in the audience, remember that as VOC-Ed. I'm wondering if you could say a word about the role career technical education plays in all of this, and what more we might be able to do through Perkins.
I think it's a continuation of embracing technology. It's not that technology is going to replace humans. It's how do we leverage the technology to move forward. And sometimes I think back, there was a 1978 New York Times front page article that ATMs, or time machines, if you're from Wisconsin, were going to take over all teller jobs. And it was a discussion about how all bank tellers were going to lose their jobs and what the impact would be. And as we look back, what we see is we actually have more bank tellers, and bank tellers make more money than they used to, even inflation adjusted. And why? Because instead of using bank tellers to count money, they're doing higher skilled work, which justifies higher pay. And so building in a lot of this technological education in the education pipeline in middle school, in particular through our high school years, where we're embedding traditional technical college education skills into our high schools. Getting people introduced to the technology that's being utilized, in particular in high-tech manufacturing in the state of Wisconsin, so that when those individuals graduate from high school, they want to continue on into a technical career, go to a 4-year institution, or come right out and work and build those skills while working in the private sector. And so embracing the technology, building it into the education pipeline, and from a federal government standpoint, providing the flexibilities for our education system to be creative and responsive to local workforce needs is going to be an essential piece of that puzzle.
Great. I have more questions than we have time, so I want to turn to the audience to see if there's a question or two that you'd like to ask. Yes, sir. And if we could have a microphone in the front.
So my question to George and Blake, as you talk about stackable credentials, how do you view the work that your companies are doing even beyond 4 and 2 year, and talk about high school? We run into so many kids who say, I can't be what I can't see. And I know that I think you're both involved with Lab Midwest and the soccer credentials, and we're starting to put mechatronics and robotics classes in high school so kids can see that. Do you want to talk about the importance of businesses even reaching further into the talent pipeline?
Yeah, just a couple of comments, and I know George will have to add to that as well. You know, I mean, to start with, even short of formal credentials, it has to start early because the technology moves at a fast pace, and getting that comfort starts at a very early age. And it's one of the reasons that we're such, avid supporters of FIRST Robotics and all of the feeder programs to that as well. It's why we're looking for opportunities to expand high school internships. We're going to be building a vertical farming installation just a few floors below here. And one of the things that pushed the approvals for that over the edge was to make sure that we were going to have round the year internships available there. But in terms of stackable credentials, being able to recognize that learning has to be lifelong. It goes, it takes place before, post-high school education, and it continues on through what might be a 40-year degree, 40-year career, is super important to be able to have those credentials. SACA credentials is one that we've worked a lot on to be able to add those and to give some indication that can move around, that while there's a local component to the education we're providing, if somebody goes from here and then wants to work in our Twinsburg, Ohio facility, that it's recognized and that they can get the benefits. The last thing I'll add to this, one of the toughest things to do with this is to wire these ideas and these programs into what actually shows up in the job requisitions, to make sure that it's reflected in the hiring criteria, and making the jump, from the thought to the deed there is something that I think we all have some more work to do.
Yeah, I'd start by saying I'm on the board of trustees at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, where I graduated from, and you see some alarming statistics around the STEM education and what's coming into the pipeline and the lack thereof it, right? So our foundation, the Johnson Controls Foundation, one of our pillars is education with a big focus on STEM. So when you look at all of the multiple programs that we have in place, trying to work early, K through 12, where we can make an impact and really attract this incredible talent, they gotta be attracted to it, and then be able to be enabled with the educational process. And so we believe, we track through our foundation that we're impacting 15, 20,000 students on an annual basis that we're bringing into STEM. Now that isn't nearly enough, but when you look at what we do in Blake's business, our business, it is truly transformed to being very technical. Across all industries. And if we're not prepared to develop that workforce, and then just more from a national security standpoint. When you look at what's happening from STEM and where that STEM education is being provided globally, where we were the leader, we're now becoming the follower. And so it's both from a national security, from a business competitiveness, maintaining the strength of our industries here and demonstrating leadership, I think, is very critical. And so we try to do our part through our foundation, we are local. So when you look at our footprint, we have a lot of programs locally with schools and high schools and, high school internships and then early early career internships that we truly try to bring the talent into that field.
Yeah, if I could just add one additional thing. One of the things that is going to help this, it's hard to do and it requires a long-term view, but is longitudinal studies that gauge the effectiveness of those programs, right? We're all talking about outcomes and the ability to track the effectiveness of a program. It's hard to strip away other dependencies on that, but to be able to look at what works and to be able to back that up with the math is really going to help this to increase the diversity of the programs that we can apply a credential to and to be comfortable or actually producing the results in industry that we're looking for.
Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm Morna Foy, full disclosure, technical college systems here in Wisconsin. And I have a question for all three. First, Johnson Controls, Rockwell Automation, awesome partners with Wisconsin's technical colleges. But could you guys just give the audience a little bit of a sense about how it is to work with your local college directly? I mean, not everybody is in the same position. Not every company is in the same position to do their own training programs and to the scale that you've been able to accomplish. But they do have a partner locally, and I'm just wondering if you could give them a sense of what it's like to actually pick up the phone, make that phone call, build that relationship. And then for the congressman, could you give us an update on work-based Pell and what the mood is on that particular program?
Congressman, I know you have to go. Maybe a quick word and anything in addition to what you've shared with us on the Jobs Act, short-term Pell.
I think there's an appetite in Congress to do that. I think broadly speaking, everybody understands the need to improve the flexibility inside the Pell programs. Getting things done in Washington right now is uniquely challenging across the board. But as we go into revising WIOA, which is the bill that would hold that, I think we have the true opportunity to do that. I feel ultimately optimistic that we're going to provide more flexibility for a lot of our educational programs.
Congressman, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being such a good partner with the Business Roundtable, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you all so much.
Great. But picking up on the question that was just asked, George?
Yeah, I mean, what our philosophy is, I think the more that we get talent in early working with us in internships, early career has worked out really well for us locally. So what we've been doing is early, like whether it be high school, but even early college experiences we're bringing interns in. We have a couple hundred right here in Milwaukee what we bring in. And the amount of, and they've been very diverse group of hires that we bring into our internship programs and giving them the experience. And then it's then working with them, with the university, that has continued to expand it because we get more visibility, more access to the talent. And in parallel to that, we also invest. And so we do projects, technical projects and the like that we sponsor and support with the universities because we believe that's a critical element of their educational process also. But I think our success is once we get them in and we get them early and we give them great experiences and we let them work with some of our best people, that is the best conversion to hire. And because they're getting the experiences, they're getting a sense for the culture, the talent, the ability to learn, the ability to be able to really make an impact. And I think for us, it's been a big part of our transformation because we tend to be, we're a 140-year-old company, okay, built, we're an innovation company. The world has changed. And the need to be agile, to have new talents and new skill sets, digital skill sets, AI is absolutely critical for the future of the company as well as the future of our workforce. So that's what we get. I think that's what you're looking for. That's what drives our success together with the schools that we work with. Even just locally, like in the community college program, we work with the Milwaukee Area Technical College. They've been instrumental in building, the technical talent, working with like the Barack Obama High School, where we work with the technical school there, We developed a lab. They've been very supportive in the ability to be able to see the product that you're developing, which are the students, and then coming out into a great job, a job that maybe previously they wouldn't have been positioned to be able to get. And it's a job that's in high demand today. I mean, we're trying to build, we see a shortfall in our technician workforce here over the next few years, and our ability to be able to get them developed early, the retention on that talent goes like that on a go-forward basis. So it's, we're all in for the local community, local schools, universities, colleges. We believe, there's multiple programs that ultimately going to contribute to our sustained success here in Milwaukee, and more important, how we develop realizing this is our global headquarters, and it's our ability to be able to take what we do here and really set the stage for what we do globally, to how we compete in all of the other critical markets.
Thanks, George.
Morning. I'll add some comments. I should start by saying that the expert and the focal point for our efforts working with technical colleges is sitting about 2 rows in front of you, Michael Cook, and I would invite you, to get the detailed story from Michael. But from my standpoint, I think it's recognizing that the best, most effective programs go long after the initial, donation of equipment, and it's the ongoing relationship, even down to the instructor level, right? Because so many of these programs are based on the confidence and the expertise of individual instructors at the schools, and making sure that you're creating that network that can persist for a long time, I think, is one of the key success factors. I will tell you that, having, been like the liaison in earlier days with a local school, the tactics are important. Cloud-based software can help because you're not having to worry about, revving up software that's on-prem and old out-of-date equipment. And so there's some basic things that give longevity to these programs. More broadly, I think, recognizing that being able to share curriculum is very important. In fact, with the AAM, we're actively working on, as one way to scale the program, being able to provide the curriculum to community colleges so that community colleges, each with their local reach, into different communities, can use that curriculum, and we can make sure that we're certifying the level of instruction on an ongoing basis, but the recognition that all the delivery doesn't have to happen in this building or in Cleveland, that it can happen at community colleges. And so those opportunities to scale what we're doing and what other similar programs are doing, I think is going to be a big part of the answer to be able to get the numbers to a point that, is orders of magnitude larger than what we can talk about today.
Let me ask, I've heard both of you talk a little bit about skills and skills hiring. And Blake, I think you actually talked about being clear in the job descriptions about what the skills are that are required to be, not just get the job, but to be successful in the job. If we look at some figures nationally, we have 38% of the individuals in this country have a 4-year degree. And nearly over 70% of the jobs in this country require a 4-year degree. So we have a gap of about 70 million people who, I won't present that as a challenge. I think that's 70 million people that we have an opportunity to create jobs for, actually careers for. And I think it's important to talk about careers because of the economic mobility for those individuals. Talk a little bit, we're not suggesting at the Business Roundtable or any of our members that we throw the 4-year degree out the window, but it's about the 4-year degree plus certificates, certifications, 2-year degrees. It's the entire pipeline that individuals can go through to be prepared. What role does skills-based hiring outside the 4-year degree play in your search for talent?
Well, it widens the aperture. We're all looking for making the best matches and to be able to consider the broadest possible pool of talent. And that has to do with varying levels of formal education at that point. It has a lot to do with diversity and certainly, the efforts that the local MMAC has spearheaded in terms of being a region of choice are, aimed at the same objective, and to be able to make sure that we can welcome the broadest possible pool of potentially, qualified applicants, and then to be able to, as George said, give them the assurance that they're going to have the opportunities to get ahead during what might be a 40-year career, and to give opportunities for additional education there. So I think, I can look at examples in Rockwell where we have people who don't have a formal 4-year degree, who are in, some of the most technical roles, who have exhibited some of the best leadership in the company. And so we know that, we have to think more about what are the actual required qualifications that we put on a job requisition. So often that's something that we don't put the right amount of care in, that puts a door down as the recruiters, are sifting through literally thousands of applicants. And as a screening tool, that may be doing us a disservice. It's certainly doing qualified candidates a disservice. It's doing companies a disservice by not putting the aperture open in the appropriate way.
George?
Yeah, I would say that I think we've all learned that when that 4-year degree was a barrier for a significant amount of our workforce. And when you think about careers are built on you attract talent that has a passion for what you do, or interest, passion for what you do, and you bring them in right at the entry level. And then if they have a passion for what they do, and they're working with a company that's all about development, then they can develop, they can be able to, over time, be able to develop those same skill sets, both whether it be technical skill sets, whether it be, analytical skill sets or leadership attributes. And so what we're learning is if we can get them, open up these other talent pools, get far more diverse talent, give them opportunity to be able to come in, quickly love the business, have a passion, they will develop. They'll embrace the programs and the development programs, and then you can see them progress. And whether they go, continue to take classes on their own, company supports those classes, development, they will have a great career because they love what they do. They have a passion for the problems we're solving. We're providing the resource for that that lifelong career. That's what I think is going to make a difference, opposed to this idea we have this artificial boundary of a 4-year degree that I think we all have learned that certainly that was, kind of a requirement, but it's not a requirement to be able to be successful and have a successful career.
Please join me in thanking, I think, 2 exceptional leaders who are walking the talk in investing in their workers and looking for the best talent, regardless of where they come from, what skills they have, what pedigree they've come with, or what piece of paper that indicates they have the skills. There are a lot more examples beyond these 2 companies that are members of the Business Roundtable. Would encourage you to take a look at our website and some of the workforce initiatives that I've mentioned. Multiple Pathways, our partnerships with the historically Black colleges and universities in the country. Again, thank you for joining us. And for those that are interested in staying for the reception, just meet us out at the elevator. We'll take you to the clock tower. But we're also going to offer a tour. We'll start with the advanced manufacturing in the back, and then we'll take you over to the automation line as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a good weekend.